So in this video, I want to show you how hexadecimal is used in our images on our web pages. So if you look at this image on the left side of a flower, that could appear on a web page. But what it really is, that image there is a combination of pixels, and each one of these squares that you can see here is a pixel. That is a pixel on your monitor. And each one of these pixels can basically have a shade of a color that, there's over 16 million possibilities. So if you think of your screen, your computer screen, and you go across it, like I think mine in the old days, I had 1,240 pixels going across the entire screen and 760 going down. It's a little bit changed now, and of course every different kind of computer you have, you'll have a different screen resolution. But your resolution is made up of pixels. Okay, now, what's the deal with these pixels? Okay, let me go ahead and close that up. Okay, and let's talk about this. If you have an image on a web page that's a JPEG, okay, made up of tiny pixels, each pixels can have a different color shade, actually over 16 million color shades, each pixel. All images on your monitor are made up of only 3 colors, red, green, and blue. That's it. It's a combination of these colors being shot or refreshed 72 times per second that gives you color. Okay. Okay, now here's a small piece of code here that does this. It's taken from an HTML page, and I have some text here, and I don't want this text to be black, I want it to be blue. So I use a font tag that has a color attribute. Now don't worry about all the technical stuff here. Okay, just know that this code right here allows this text here to appear blue instead of black. That's all that's important for now. Color is an attribute of the font tag that allows the text characters to be displayed in blue. Now, I could have written it like this. Okay, this is the hexadecimal version of blue. So these first two positions here are how much red, this is how much green, and this is how much blue. Basically, this says use no red, no green, and all the possible blue you have. That's basically what that says. Okay, and this text here will appear to be in blue. This is the hex version. Now, why do we use hex? Why don't we just use blue? There's only so many predefined color words that we can use. Let's suppose there was 36 or 136, whatever. If that was the case, that would be the only number of colors we would have. But I told you earlier we have over 16 million possible shades. It's the hex that allows us to use all 16 million possible shades and to guarantee that every browser in the world will generate the exact color we specify for a specific task or image. Okay, so behind each pixel on our screen, there's 3 total bytes. So think of each pixel on our screen and think behind each pixel you have 3 total bytes. 1 byte for red, 1 byte for green, and 1 byte for blue. Now, each of those colors, red, green, and blue, has a possible 256 different shades. And if you multiply 256 for red and 256 for green and 256 for blue, that gives you over 16 million different possible colors or shades. Okay, so how can we use that to get a specific color for a web page? How does this work? All right, let's suppose we're going into Photoshop and we select a color from a color wheel. Okay, and it's going to tell us a value of how much red, green, and blue that specific color has. And the range of that value will be from 0 to 255. Now that makes pretty much sense because how many total things can you store in 1 byte? Well, 256. And 0 to 255 is using 256 different possibilities. So what we do when the color wheel tells us a value from 0 to 255, we have to convert that to hex. And the hex value is what we use for our browser to give us the exact shade we need. So here's an example. Suppose we selected a color and we were told it had 50 over 255 of red, it had 80 over 255 of green, and 242 over 255 of blue. You could write this in hex like that. By the way, this is a hash symbol right here. This says, this is hex now, 32, 50, and F2. That's a hex color, 32, 50, and F2. 32 is hex of how much red, the 50 is hex of how much green, and the F2 is hex of how much blue. Well, how do we convert 50 and 80 and 242 to hex? Okay, well that's where we have our little cheat sheet here. Okay, I use my 1 and 16. You learned that from converting hex the other day. So the question is, how many 16s go into 50? 3. How many ones are left? 2. There's your 32. I just converted the 50 to 32. Okay. How many 16s go into 80? 5. How many ones are left? 0. This 50 is the hex value of 80. Now remember, these numbers here are all decimal values, right? So 80 is converted to 50 in hex. And how about 242? Okay, that's a decimal value. Let's convert it to hex. How many 16s go into 242? 15. Well, what is 15 in hex? F. How many ones are left? 2. F2. So now these are the hex values of these values, which are all in decimal and were given to us by the color wheel in Photoshop. This is how the conversion works. Okay? Now, to be honest with you, I'm going to give you just a couple more examples. If you saw FF, 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 okay, that would give you the maximum red, the maximum green, the maximum red, green, and blue. That would be, if you can believe this, that's white. If you saw FF 0000, that's going to be red. If you saw 00FF 00, that's going to be green. And if you saw 0000FF, if we mentioned earlier, that's blue. And if you saw 000000, that would be black. And there are 16 million different possibilities I can do here that would represent colors very, very well, so every browser could interpret them.